Let's first hear the raw voice recording, and then I'll engage the processing so you can hear the difference.
I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner. My goal is to make my audio recording sound professional and to have a chain that allows me to do that fairly easily.
How's it going? My name is Lenny B, and I'm an audio engineer, and I specialize in making voice recordings sound better. And I work with all types of content creators like YouTubers, podcasters, voice actors, people doing narration, and maybe you've got your own YouTube channel and you want the audio to sound better. My goal and really what I specialize in is helping people make a better connection with their audience. And today, we're going to go through kind of a walkthrough of the processing of this particular voice recording that was sent from a client of mine. His name is Aaron Potter, and he is looking to improve the quality of his voice. We're going to walk through the exact processing. I'm going to go step by step what I've done to improve the sound. Aaron is using a Synco D2 microphone. He is running it into an Audient ID14 audio interface, and he's capturing everything on his PC via Adobe Audition software. All right, what we're going to do is really start from scratch, and the first thing I like to do is add EQ, but let's examine and play back the raw file first. And I'm going to be listening for his room, what kind of reflections or resonant sounds are in the raw recording, how clear it is, his mic technique. We look at the recording level. I've actually adjusted this recording level on the raw file. I've increased it by 2.5 dB, so it was just a touch low, not too bad. But what I want to do is get it to peak. I want the peak value of the raw file to be at -6. That's my target, and I like to go in that direction because it's important, because I'm going to design the custom processing chain that I put together for Aaron according to a file that's peaking at -6. And this way, if he does the same thing on his end moving forward, when he records peaking at -6, that's the best way I can guarantee we can get and replicate the exact sound that I've created for him. So I did raise it up just about 2.5 dB to get the sound, or to get the level that I wanted. All right, let's listen to the raw file, and we'll take a look at what it looks like on the spectrum analyzer here on this EQ. No EQ is being applied yet. It's just running clean through the EQ.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice.
So the first thing that I'm hearing is there is a little bit of maybe 350 range of a boxy kind of a sound. And that could be happening because of the room that he's in, the way the mic is pointing. But I will say that it doesn't seem too detrimental at this point, but I am hearing something there. And so what I'm going to do is grab one of these bands of the EQ and see if I could identify exactly where that is. And it's a mid-range, lower mid-range, probably around 350 hertz.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career.
So you can see I've searched for the thing that I was listening for, and I listen in my brain for that frequency, and then I try to find it by soloing the band, which is one of the reasons why I love this equalizer. It is a parametric EQ by Waves. It's called the F6. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know I'm a fan, and one of the reasons is because you can solo the bands with the right click of the mouse or whatever you're using, and so it really helps me pinpoint the frequency that I want to work on. So let me lower this down, and then I'll show you what I'm hearing and then what it sounds like when I drop that band.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now,
I really feel like it reduces that resonance in that particular sound. So, but let's see if we can find some more. I think there is some more energy in that, near that range that we could reduce.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
I'm going to turn on the 2 meters, and just to give you an explanation, this meter here is before the processing, this meter here is after the processing. And I keep my eyes on this all the time, and I'll direct your attention to this because when I make the changes with this EQ, I want to make sure that I'm gain staging. I want the energy, the peak level to be the same going in as coming out, approximately the same. Because really what we're doing with this first EQ, and this is the way I approach processing, is I want to go for balance. And I absolutely do that first before I add any compression or de-essing or gating or anything. Anything like that, I want to make sure that I've got a nice balanced signal coming in first. And so usually what happens is that is reductive or I'm minimizing certain bands. I'm reducing energy with the EQ. So I'm going to want to replenish that one with the overall output of the EQ. And I'll show you how I do that once I balance this completely.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of...
You can see already that the level is a little bit less after the EQ. So even with the minor adjustments we've made so far, it's still reducing the amount of energy coming out of the EQ.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional. So that's a huge thing that I'm trying to do. My goal is to make my audio recording sound professional.
I also want to mention this yellow line here. I'll show you.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start.
This yellow line is what's called a peak hold line, but it's actually showing me the peaks and the highest points, and it's freezing the highest points. And if something goes even higher, it'll measure that and show me it. So I could still see that we've still got a little peak. If you were to average this yellow line, you could see it kind of goes up here still. So I may drop even more of this band number 3, which is 460 hertz.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner.
Already, I'm feeling that we're getting more of a balanced sound. All of the frequency spaces are represented evenly, and it sounds more full. And you'll really see the difference. I'll turn on and off the EQ and replenish that energy that we're getting so you can hear the difference. I do hear a few, and I'm familiar with the Synco D2 microphone. There is a little bit of sharpness that I'm hearing in a couple other bands in this EQ or in the frequency space for this. And let me see if I can identify them with these last 2 bands, 5 and 6.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now.
So that to me sounds a little bit harsh, and so I want to just drop that down a little bit.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on.
It's not much. So that's in the 1,400 hertz range, and I'm just dropping it about almost 3 dB, so it's not a lot. And I think there might be one more up here.
These are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now.
Now, you might say, hey, you heard that higher one, so where is this? This is about 4,500, and I agree, that's definitely going to be a sibilance issue, but I'm probably going to address that with a de-esser later. But what I was referring to was this particular frequency space, which is around 2,500. And again, it's not a lot, but it's just a little bit harsh. I'll play you the difference again. I'm going to drop it down.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on.
What I like to do is go for a nice smooth top end, and there's a reason for this, and you'll see as we progress and I move forward, what I like to do is boost with a second EQ after some of that intelligible upper mid frequency range that really gives the voice a presence. And before I do that and boost that up, I want to make sure there's no specific harsh frequency points that are, causing a problem. So this is going to allow me, by reducing the 5 and 6 bands, the bands 5 and 6, by reducing those, it's going to smooth out that frequency response there in the upper mid, which will allow me to, when I do raise it up with the second EQ for what I call sweetening, it'll be nice and clean and smooth and not harsh.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my...
Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is look at my meters and zero in on the peak. And we'll look at some of the LUFS readings as well, the average loudness. And I want to try to match them again and get them as close as possible. They don't have to be exact, but within about 1 dB is a good target. But gain staging is good because it allows me to do two things. I'm going to be able to now turn on and off the EQ, and without a peak level change, I can hear the difference the EQ is making. But it also is going to set me up at a good recording level, at a good level going into the next processing, which is going to be the Sheps Omni channel.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start.
I'm going to raise this output, and this raises the entire EQ.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build.
So I know that this is peaking at about -6, so I'm going to try to shoot for about -6 here as well.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now.
So we're pretty close. It's peaking so far, just while I listen quickly, at -8 dB and peaking at -7.7, so we're 3 dB off, and that's just in the neighborhood. And I am also looking at these meters here just to see that I'm getting a relative similar level before the EQ and after the EQ. All right, so now I want to listen to the difference. So I'm going to disengage and engage the EQ. I'll go back and forth to listen to what this balancing has done. And I think there's one more thing I want to do, but let's listen so far.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio.
I think you can notice it kind of scoops out the mud a little bit. It brings it a little more close to your face. It feels like the voice is closer, and we've broadened out the frequencies, and they're all represented evenly. That balance is such a huge key, and it's really important to do that. And I prefer to do it first before doing any other processing. I want to work on a clean, balanced file. The one thing that I am missing a little bit is a little bit of warmth and low end, so I'm going to use a low shelf here to kind of bump that up without getting muddy or too boomy. I just want to add a little bit of warmth. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this low frequency band and I'm going to use it as a shelf, and you can see we're going to bump this low end up. And I'll tell you, this is important. You know, I use the frequency spectrum analyzer in the EQ, the yellow line. I use the real-time line. I'm looking at all these things, but the final decisions I'm making is with my ear. So I use all that data to help me make decisions, but I'm using my ear in my studio and listening to the before and after, going for that balance. But the decision, the final approval is something I do with my ears only. And I will also add one caveat. There's no reason why, and I probably will go back to this EQ maybe to fine tune it after I add the other stuff. There's no rules that say you can't go back and massage things a little bit afterwards. But it's not wrong if it sounds good, I think is a good way to kind of look at it. Let's see if we can raise up the warmth a little bit without making it too boomy.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional.
All right, I like that. I'm happy with that at a start here. And let's look at the peak meter once again now with all these changes. And by the way, you can do this. This is such a cool thing with the F6. Real-time analyzer, that is the lines and the peak hold line that go up and down and show you a data display of the peaks of each frequency space in real time when you're playing it. But you can tell the real-time analyzer to show you post EQ changes or pre, and it also does side change. So let's look at it pre.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on.
And so you can see that curve kind of goes up. That's where that boxy mid-range sound is happening, and then it goes back down. And I want balance. I want it to be more flat. And so now let's look at it and reset it here. Let's look at it after the EQ changes and see what it looks like to see the difference. And again, we're using this data to really confirm that what we've done is moving in the right direction. But again, it's all about what it sounds like.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner.
So I like the way that sounds. It's a good chance I'm going to come back, but I do think we've achieved a better balance. One more time without the EQ, and then I'll engage it again, and we'll listen to the difference of just what the EQ changes are doing.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now.
The balance is a little more pleasing. It definitely sounds more full and warm, and it removes that boxy sound that we're getting. I don't believe that Aaron has an issue with his room or his mic placement. I mean, he's getting a pretty good sound, and we're able to make some pretty big changes and necessary and capable changes with the EQ. But it's true that that boxiness is probably coming from a reflection that is resonating in that 460, 481 frequency space. So can it be minimized? Sure. With some maybe better acoustic treatment, maybe he could continually improve by his mic placement. Is his microphone pointing to somewhere that's giving him a reflection and causing those reflections to interact with his pure voice, causing that resonance? So, it's you do the best you can with, but what I want to explain to you is you can always improve. And, maybe after a while, he upgrades some of the acoustic treatment that absorbs better high, mid, and low frequencies, and he can modify this. Okay, let's move on to the next processing, which is the Star here. I love this thing, and it's just so capable. It has a ton of different processors in it, and we're going to run through. This is my custom default setting. I've made it to where it starts with a gate and then a preamp, a compressor, a sweetening EQ, the De-Esser follows, and then there's another option to add any one of these again, and I use a secondary compressor, and we'll walk through it. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the gate, and what I want to try to do is go for kind of a natural sound. I don't want you to hear the gate expander. I want it to be very natural, but what it's going to do is just help reduce the noise between the words even further. But I want to definitely go for a natural sound to where you don't hear it, and then we're going to add a little saturation too.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that.
All right, I think that's a good start. I also have these settings here as a good starting point for me. And remember, this starting point is only consistently working for me because I always go into processing at peaking at -6. So if you were to go into this processor much lower or much higher, those settings wouldn't work. So it's a way to kind of standardize things for me, and it really kind of helps with the consistency. I like the way the gate is working, but again, I may jump back after we're all done and fine-tune things a little bit, but I'll explain to you that the threshold is set to trigger when he's not talking. If we set it too high, it would be cutting off some of his voice. But it's set to just get 6 to 12 dB of reduction. So that does help with the transparency. You don't hear it working because it's not shutting all the way off. It's not closing the expander or the gate all the way. It's just reducing it when he's not speaking. And it's doing it in a very liquid type of natural moving sound with the attack and the release. All right, onward to the saturation. Let's see what we can do with some of the odd harmonics.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career.
This is a good thing to do. You're not going to break anything. It's always a good idea if you're not exactly sure what the effect or the processing does, crank it up all the way. Sometimes, give it way too much and then you can pull it back to where you like it, or take it off completely and then level it up. You're not going to break anything. It's a matter of understanding what the changes do and then dialing it in to find the sound that you want. And for me, I just want a little bit of thickening, warming, a little bit more toasty. And that's kind of what the saturation does. It's a very, very delicate type of saturation distortion that adds harmonics, and you can add either even or odd harmonics. The heavy and the crush is mostly used for music production and drum buses and things and bass guitar and maybe some room microphones on a drum set. But we're going to use the odd harmonics, which are a little more warm sounding in my opinion, and we'll crank it up just maybe about 20 to 30.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now.
That sounds pretty good to me. What you might notice is this may change adding the saturation may increase the volume or the output a little bit. Doesn't seem to be doing too much right now. I'm not too worried about it. But I am going to go back to these meters again, especially after the first compressor is added, because that is going to definitely make a change post effects. And I'm going to talk about compression here for just a second. And I haven't gone into too many details. I haven't gone too deep in compression, and I'm going to start doing that, and this will be the first video. There's several different ways you can use a compressor. There's several type of compressor algorithms or compressor functions, and they work differently. Their attack and release times are different. They do a better job for some type of sounds than others. And, getting yourself familiar with an FET compressor versus an opto compressor versus a VCA compressor, by playing with them and understanding what they do to the sound is one thing that's going to help, but also understanding the different ways that you can use a compressor. And for this particular approach for his voice, I really want to use the compressor. Again, I want to go for a natural sound. I don't want it to sound over compressed or punchy, or I want to give it, here's the end result. I want his quieter parts to be louder. I want the louder parts to be lower. And I want to minimize the dynamic range, because naturally in a raw recording, when you capture your voice on a microphone, there's a big difference between a loud projection, consonant, and maybe a quiet voice or a whisper, right? There's actually a pretty big range. So what a compressor does is it lowers the louder stuff, and then you raise the whole thing up, and the end result is it was here and now it's here. So it actually minimizes the dynamic range of the audio, and that's what we want to do. And I've found that the soft knee, which is a compression that it actually works more often. A soft knee, maybe around 3-to-1, is a good way to give you that natural sound by really reducing the dynamics. And I'm going to get more than you might expect of a reduction for this particular compressor, but there's things we can do. So let's just start there. So I'm using the soft compressor type. I've got the threshold, we'll start at 0 and I'll back it down. We're using a 3-to-1 ratio, and I've got the attack all the way open. So it's the slowest, and the release, the quickest, the fastest release at 50 milliseconds. And let's drop down about 3 to 5 maybe dB of gain. And I'm going to look both at this meter and the gain reduction meter here as well, the VU meter.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
So this is giving me a really good reduction in the dynamic range, which is what I'm looking for. But I think I want to approach this to make it a little more natural, and I can do that by slowing down the release a little bit. I don't want it to be so abrupt. I want it to go back to the pre-compressed signal level a little bit slower, and you can watch that difference as I slow this release down. You can see it on this meter here, the VU meter, and you can also see it here. I want it to be kind of liquid. When he stops talking, I want it to go back in a slow, natural type of way. So it's really, the compressor is wrapping around the voice. I know these are just adjectives. I know these are just the way I'm describing it, and I'm trying to explain what I'm listening for. So, you could really kind of apply this, and I want to help you be able to set a compressor on whatever plugin that you're using. And this, by the way, works on all types of compressors, but this is what I'm listening for while I set the release time. I'm going to make it a little slower, and I'm going to do probably the attack. I'll probably set the attack to be a little quicker.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now.
Okay. To me, that sounds a little more natural. And boy, it took me a really, really long time to feel confident with compression. It's complicated. I mean, there's so many different compressor types. There's so many different, think of all the variables you have with the attack, release, the ratio, threshold, and there's even more. And I'm going to talk about that now, actually. There is what's called, on this compressor, it's parallel compression. And really what that does is it mixes in the dry signal, the uncompressed signal, with the compressed signal. So one of the ways you can use it is if you feel like the compressed sound is happening too much, but you like the way it's set, you could actually mix in back, change the ratio, mixing in some of that dry signal without being compressed, and it reduces the amount of compression. That's one way to do it. So I'm going to actually back off a little bit with the mix knob. So right now it's 100% compressed. What we're hearing is a 3-to-1 ratio. It's going in whatever above the threshold, whatever audio is happening above the threshold, every 3 dB above the threshold, it comes out 1. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So let's back off that mix, and I'll go all the way to 0 and back up to 100 so you can hear the difference.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound.
So I'll keep it about 75. So it's backing it off a little bit. And once again, I may go back and fine tune this stuff once I get all of the processing on this chain. But you might have noticed that when I turned off or turned the mix down all the way, so it was all raw, dry signal, it got much louder. So it is compressing those higher signals. So at this point, I'm going to look at the meters and see to make sure that we're not peaking above -6 after the compressor.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little.
All right, so we peaked at -5.5, so I'll back this off just a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. I just want to make sure I continue to stay in the same range. I don't want to go more than 1 dB over or under. I really want to keep things as consistent as possible. So far we've done the corrective EQ here to balance the signal. I've replenished the energy by increasing the output after the EQ. Then after the EQ, we're going into the Schoeps Omnichannel plugin, which is this one here, and we're applying the expander gate. We're adding some light saturation, and now we have done our first compression processing, and again, I have gain staged it again to be the same peak level or very similar peak level coming out of all this processing as it was going in. Let's just listen once again.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career.
Now let's turn our attention to my sweetening EQ. So remember, we've done the balancing. I've found and identified those areas, the frequency spaces that were a little harsh or a frequency space that was represented much more than some of the others, as I want that nice smooth curve. And now they're more represented evenly. So when I do the sweetening, there are very broad changes. I'm going to maybe use a broad bell to push the low end up, maybe drop the low mid, mud a little bit, raise some of that clarity and some of the high end. And these are going to be broad strokes that are not going to be much EQ. And it's one of the reasons why I really like the Schoeps Omnichannel, because this EQ is so versatile and very sweet sounding. And for a voice, it just does. I've yet to find an EQ that I like better, so that's why I lean on this all the time. It's a totally affordable, relatively speaking, as far as plugins go, and it's Waves, which is compatible with VST3 DAWs that can handle VST3 plugins. So it really works on many levels. So let's engage the EQ, and I think I'm gonna work on that mid-range clarity first. So I'll turn it on.
And audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start.
One of the things that this does is I can push Control on my keyboard. I'm working on a Mac, and it will solo this band. And just like one of the reasons why I like the F6 so much is it gives me that control to zero in on the sound that I'm looking for by soloing the band. You only hear what is being affected. I'm able to do that by control clicking on any of the knobs in any of these 4 bands, and it will solo it for me.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe.
So I like that frequency right there. One of the things that I do, what I'm listening for is I may sweep some of the mid to listen. And if I hear an area that is quiet, but it is also a clarity type, pleasing mid-range voice, if it's quieter than the others, I go, that's a good area to kind of push it up. And that's what I've done here. And so let's push up the gain of that frequency space and see if you can hear the clarity kind of start popping out in this voice.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice.
So I like that frequency. And right away, I also started hearing, wow, that sibilance is hitting pretty hard too. And we're going to address that next with a de-esser. But yes, you are pushing up some of those frequencies that include the frequency space where the sibilance is. And we're going to address that. But for the moment, I'm not too worried about it. But you did hear how that clarity kind of popped out. Let's look at the air high frequency band, and I'll do the same thing by soloing first. And usually about 8,000 hertz and up is where I'm going to be pushing the high shelf. And what I want is the air without the sibilance. I want the frequencies above the sibilance, and that's what I want to increase here.
Commercials and
I soloed it, and you might not even have heard that clearly. It depends on where you are and what you're listening on, but it's really high. It's really the air sound, and it brings a particular clarity and beauty. And again, the Schoeps Omni-Channel EQ does such a great job with it.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career.
It just pushes the clarity of the voice. It gives it a beauty. And I'll tell you one thing, some microphones, no matter what the level, but especially when you start getting into more professional microphones, the silkiness of the high end is a lot of where the quality is. And I think there's some microphones that have such a beautiful top end, and it's there, but you just can't hear it. And until you use something like a high shelf EQ, and then kind of focus on those. Sometimes you could use saturation on a high-end area like that really kind of highlights and showcases that beautiful, silky top air. And I think we've done this. I'm going to say this again because it's in my brain, and I want to kind of download every thought that I have to share with you. I'm making a mental note that, it sounds good right now, maybe a little too much, and I'm going to fine tune it after this whole thing again. I'll walk through every single button and knob and just rethink while I'm listening at the end of this to fine tune it. Okay, so let's listen once more, and I'm going to now work on the mud, the lower mid with this tone band, and then we'll work on the low end, ultra low kind of warmth sub bass in the voice.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
You can see maybe on my Logic, it peaked a little bit, or you heard some distortion. That's just a resonance because I'm highlighting that frequency to find it. It's okay. When they say peaking is bad, that's for your recording. But if you're peaking while you're adjusting some of the EQ, or you're listening, or you crank something all the way, if it peaks, it shouldn't break anything. I think it can in some situations, but I never worry about it, and it's never caused me a problem. So don't be freaked out if the red light goes on. It's more of a matter of when you record, you don't want to peak. You don't want your audio file to have those peaks in the file that you capture for quality. So I think I've identified where that really resonant mud area in the frequency is. So let's drop that back. And I may change the Q, which is the steepness of the curve a little bit. You can do that with this knob here on the EQ. So I may make it a little more steep, so I'm not affecting too many frequencies, and I'm going to drop those down a little bit.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
Sounds good. We're dropping just a little bit, maybe 1.5 dB. You'll notice again, these changes that I'm making are not too big, and the a lot of the Q or the width of the frequency bands are very wide. They're not too steep. This one is the most steep out of all of them so far. Now let's look at that real low sub-bass warmth of the voice and see what we can do.
Commercials and audio that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner.
So I like this setting so far. I'll do this again. I disengaged the sweetening EQ and engaged it again, just so I can hear the difference. It is adding a lot of output level. So maybe 3 to 4 dB of gain. So we're going to go back and gain stage that, because I want to make sure we're staying in the same ballpark, but you can definitely hear the difference as well. So let me gain stage it first. This EQ doesn't have an output, but the de-esser that's next in the chain is. These two de-essers are not engaged, but I'm going to be using the output level of this de-esser. And by the way, I didn't say this, and I should have. If you're new and you're seeing this for the first time, I should have said this in the beginning. The signal flow goes left to right. So it goes into the gate, out of the gate, into the preamp, out of the preamp, into the compressor, EQ, de-esser, and so on. So the de-essers are only engaged when these lights are on. So they're off, but I'm able to, when I engage the module, I'm able to use this as an output. So I'm going to use this output to gain stage the changes and the changes that the EQ has made so far, so we can still get in that range of peaking at -6 after all the processing.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on. Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now, commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
All right, we're in the neighborhood. I like that. We're very close to peaking at -6 after the processing. I also know that we've got some more compression coming up, and I'm going to use a limiter at the very end as well. So I'm not too worried about it, but again, I like to stay in that neighborhood. Now, before we go to this last compressor, I forgot something, and I want to go back to this compressor here, and I want to adjust the sidechain. I would categorize this as kind of an advanced concept when it comes to compression, but I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. A sidechain, you can actually tell the compressor to only look at certain frequencies to detect where to do the compression. So I'm going to tell the compressor, I don't want you to look at the ultra low frequencies. I want you to only look at the lower, mid, and up frequencies and detect those sounds coming from only those frequencies and work off of those. Ignore the lower stuff. And what that does is usually a lower frequency in a voice or any type of audio material is going to have more energy in it, and it's going to affect how the compressor works. It actually makes the compressor work more. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to tell the compressor with the sidechain situation not to look at the low material. So the way to do this is you engage the high pass filter, and I'm going to put it on listen mode so I can hear what I'm sending to the detector circuit of the compressor.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on.
So about 230, 240, 250 is usually about where it is. I just want to make sure the compressor is not listening to those low frequencies, because it's going to make the compressor work too hard. So now I'll take the listen mode off, and we can go back and hear what it sounds like. And this actually, because the outcome of doing this and usually doing something like this is it puts a little bit of warmth back after the compressor. That's the end result. That's the sum of adding a side chain to a compressor. You'll also notice the compressor won't work as hard, but that also may have me readjust that low end on the EQ. So let me do that now.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner.
That sounds pretty good. A little bit of an adjustment. And right before I move forward again, I'm going to look at the gain staging one last time.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
Okay, we're still in the same neighborhood, so it didn't affect it that much. And now let's look at this last compressor. And this is very much like the other compressor. It's actually very much the same. It just looks, the interface looks a little different. You still have your 4 types of compressors to choose from. It's got the same side chain controls, the same ratio, attack and release, and mix and everything, and an output as well. So for this particular one, I want to remain transparent, but really what I want to do is only work on the very, very loud peaks. There's one in particular, the word he says better, and that's actually where one of the transients, they call them, peaks is. It's one of the loudest peaks. It's a consonant, a B. I can make it sound better, and he, like some of the other consonants in the recording, those are really what I want to concentrate on. So I really only want this compressor to work during those really louder parts. So I'm going to set this a little bit differently. So this isn't so much, I'm using this compressor as a way not so much to maintain and reduce the dynamics of the whole recording. I just want to work on that loud portion a little bit more to keep that in check. And really what that's going to do is allow us to raise the loudness level, the output level before peaking even more and bring that voice even more close to the listener's ears when they hear it after processing. So I'm going to set this compressor a little bit higher. Maybe we'll do like a 6-to-1 ratio, and I may drop that back a little bit. Let's get 1 to 2 to maybe 3 dB of gain reduction and see what that sounds like.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional. So that's a huge thing that I'm trying to do. My goal is to make my audio recording sound professional.
Okay. I like it. I feel like it's just a little heavy-handed, so I may back it off a little bit. With a mix knob is good, but you can hear it just kind of reduces those dynamics a little bit more. I go back and forth. It's like, is it too compressed? Does it still sound natural? And that's something that I'll do by listening over and over again. And by the way, long process, right? I mean, from start to finish, I'm really listening to so many things, but this is custom, right? This setting is working for this recording, for this voice, for this microphone, and at this level. But that's what makes this optimizable, is because I could really focus in on doing it. And there's still one more thing we're going to add after this, but let me listen again and just make sure my compression isn't too much. And you can also see that adding all of these steps, I'm doing kind of subtle changes, but they add up to make a big difference. And you'll really hear that when I go back to play the raw file and then engage everything, so you can hear the difference between the completely raw and the completely processed file.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now.
One of the things I've noticed in the Sheps Omni channel is this meter, it appears to only show me the first compressor, this meter. But I can look at this peak reduction meter here for this particular compressor, and I know that it's showing me what this compressor is doing. So I've backed off the mix a little bit. I've lowered the ratio and even backed off the threshold, so it doesn't activate this compressor until just really the loudest parts. The last thing I'm going to do is add a limiter at the very end here. And it's not going to work very hard, but it's going to be a little bit of an insurance policy. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this limiter I want you to cut everything off at -6. So even if some of those peaks kind of get through after all the processing that I've done, it's okay if the limiter just taps it a little bit. And again, this is going to allow me to push the loudness of the final processed sound up and increase the loudness, but still it won't go over peaking over -6. So what I've found is you need to go a little above -6. So I'm going to go -6.1. And while I play this back, when this little green light illuminates, that's when it's doing its limiting job. And I'm going to take a look to see now that the meters here, the peak meters, are the same.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
I just realized I didn't set the de-essers. Boy, this is good. You're really seeing my process. Let's go back real quick. I want to set the de-essers, and I'm going to reset this, and let's look at, this is how I set a de-esser, by the way. I'm going to go back and look at the peak hold line for the spectrum analysis, and it's going to give me the neighborhood of where the sibilance is happening.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on
So it's really apparent those S's are peaking right at this area here, 4385, and I'm looking at the number up here. Yeah, I can move the mouse and it gives me that frequency space. So about 43, 42, 4200 hertz is an area that I'm getting sibilance. So we're going to go back to the Shep Somni channel, 4300, 4300, and that's where I'm going to set it. So this de-esser, this frequency, this first one, I'm going to use a wide type of band, and I'm going to see how that works in that space.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better.
That actually sounds pretty good. I'm not feeling or hearing the harshness. I will tell you that you should point your ears to the fact that we're getting 6 dB of reduction only when that sibilance is happening. When that frequency space are centered at 4300, when that frequency space goes over this threshold setting, that's the only time it reduces that frequency space. It leaves it alone the other times, and I want that frequency space to be left alone so that clarity kind of still comes through when it's not sibilant or over sibilant in that area. So let's listen again and hear what that sounds like.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner.
Yeah, it smooths out that frequency space. I'm not doing much else to the other frequencies, so it's allowing me to surgically kind of zero in and focus on just that problem. Yet another reason why this is just a fantastic processor. 2 de-essers it gives you, and often I do find that there might be a couple different spaces that I could work on surgically when it comes to sibilance. A lot of times there's a lower SH kind of a sibilant sound and then a higher S, especially in female voices. There may be like a piercing kind of a thing in a higher space. So I could work on those independently. Allows me to leave the other material, other frequency spaces alone and just, surgically work on the ones that I want. Okay, now I feel like I want to just think about everything, think about all the changes while listening back and modify. And I'm going to start here, modify some of that boxiness now with all of the other things, all of the other processing added.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional. So that's a huge thing that I'm trying to do. My goal is to make my audio recording sound professional and to have a chain that allows me to do that fairly easily. Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional. So that's a huge thing that I'm trying to do. My goal is to make my audio recording sound professional and to have a chain that allows me to do that fairly easily.
What's really surprising is the big difference that you hear when you listen back to the completely raw file and then the fully processed file and hear those back to back. And I'm going to play that for you now. It's really apparent. It also helps you do some more fine tuning when you listen back to back. No plugins at all, raw file. Where has it taken us, and have we done the best we can to optimize it? And it's really actually a pretty big difference, and I'm going to play that for you. But I want you to know that what I've done for Aaron here, I can do for you as well with your microphone, with your room, your voice captured in your space, with your setup, and I can create a custom processing file, and I will send you a free example of what my custom processing sounds like on your voice, and I do that for free. All you have to do is go to my website. It's lennyb.com, and you'll see a red button at the top of the page to submit your voice. And I gave you some instructions on what to send me. There's actually 3 steps that you need to take. The first one is to prepare your audio file. And once you have that ready, according to the guide that I've given you, you need to fill out a form, and it's really easy. It's just to give me some information about you, your equipment, tell me a little bit about the acoustic treatment you have, describe your challenges. I want to know maybe what you're using as far as the plugins that you have. So if I can use the same ones that you already have, you don't need to buy any new ones. Then after you've filled out the form, step 3, you're going to receive an email from me with instructions on where to upload your audio. And you just upload it to Dropbox. Then as soon as I can, I'm going to examine your file and I will process your audio and send you a free example of what that sounds like. You'll get an email from me saying, here is the link. You can click on it to listen to both your raw file peak level matched to the processed file so you can hear what it sounds like. I'll tell you this, a lot of people come to me because they maybe are very interested. They know they want to improve the quality of their voice, but it's okay. Some people just don't have the ear, and it's a gift that I have, and I love doing this for people. You can hear the demo of what it sounds like, and if you're interested in purchasing the custom preset for me, that's how one of the services that I provide, that's how I make my living, and we can discuss that. But giving you an example to show you what it can sound like is absolutely free. And usually, if you've got some hurdles or you've got some challenges, I will tell you also when I send you the free demo, I usually explain, hey, you need to fix this, or your recording level was off, or try to do this. I definitely can give you tips and point in the direction to maybe some of my courses that'll help you improve. My goal is to just help you make a better connection with your audience. That's what I love doing. It's what I'm good at, and I love sharing it and helping other content creators. Now what we're going to do is we are going to listen, and I'm going to put everything up here on the screen at the same time. I'll make these a little bit smaller so you can see everything. We're going to listen to what it sounds like with everything, and we can also keep our eyes on that meter as well, the 2 meters before and after, to see that they're very much the same. So first, I'm going to disengage all of the effects, and then what I'm going to do is we'll hear the raw unprocessed file back to back. I'll engage the processing, all of the processing together. Then I'll disengage everything again, so you can hear the processed and the raw file back to back. You can hear what type of improvements has it made, what's the difference. I'll be listening for where can I maybe improve a little bit better. It really helps when you hear exactly what it's doing. And one of the reasons why we can hear exactly what the processing is doing is because I've made sure to peak level match it. So the difference is it's going to appear louder, but the level is the same. We're peaking at the same level. The average loudness or perceived loudness is much more, but the peak is the same, which really, again, is another reason why it gives it that forward motion, that feel of the voice being closer. Let's check it out. We'll start with the unprocessed, and I'll switch back and forth to the processed sound.
Commercials and audiobooks are kind of the things that I want to start focusing on as I try and build my career. And I believe my biggest challenge right now with my audio is that I can make it sound better than the raw audio that you're hearing now. I can add a little bit of body to my voice, a little cleaner, as far as noise and things like that. I can clean it up, make it sound decent. I never feel like it sounds totally professional.
Now, some people are a little apprehensive. They're like, I don't know if I want to send my voice to Lenny. I'm not ready yet. But actually, that's usually when I can help you the most. I work with pros that do this full time, working on Hollywood films, and I also work on people that are doing gaming or they're ultra beginners. They've just started buying equipment. They haven't had a first client or they haven't started their project yet. It doesn't matter the level that you're at. My goal and effort is to help you. I'm never going to criticize what I hear, but I will give you pointers and tips and ways that you can improve, hopefully to help you save money and time and frustration, buying the wrong recording equipment or focusing on the wrong things so you can reach your goal faster. I love helping people reach their goals by sharing my gift. And for some reason, I've always been good at audio and kind of making things sound better. So don't be shy to send me your voice. I'm happy to help you. And if you want to do that, go to lennyb.com. Also, if you've got any questions about anything you've seen here, by all means, leave your question in the comment section. I pride myself on doing a pretty good job of getting back to you as quickly as I can. lennyb.com is where you get all the details. Thanks so much for watching.